Let's start now. All right, awesome. How's everybody doing? It's JD Temple here, and I've got a really, really special guest with me tonight, and I'm honored to have him here. It's JS Garrett, and he just had a write that's published in the Anthology of Sorcery, Volume 3, and this guy does all kinds of things that just, from talking to him for the last hour or however long we've been talking, man, blows my mind, dude. Like, seriously, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of it, and I'm really excited for you guys to be able to, receive whatever message and information that he's going to have to deliver to us tonight, because he really is kind of a wealth of knowledge of just full circle of any type of magic from what I'm gathering. I mean, it's a lot of things I haven't even considered, and seem to become it's just natural and innate ability within him, and that's something that's just very profound. But I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Like, however you want to start. I mean, I really love to hear kind of how this all started for you in your life, like how you got on your path. Like from the beginning, as far as you want to take us back.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you, JD, for inviting me on here. I'm thrilled to be talking to you tonight. And yeah, we've been chatting for over an hour here, and it's great stuff, man. I'm loving getting to know you and hearing about your experiences. Wow. Well, see, I don't really practice any one certain type of magical system. I just practice fucking magic, bro. It's not black or white to me. When it comes to magic, believe it or not, in my opinion, black and white actually work together here. So it's great stuff. The thing that I was really looking forward to talking to you about was the healing work that you do. I was checking out your website and see that you do some really awesome stuff with that. And the way that I got started in doing healing rituals for people was out of pure necessity. The first one I ever did, it was for a good friend of mine's father who was dying of sepsis. And, he calls me up and he was like, hey, man, my dad's dying of sepsis in here. The doctors are telling us to make preparations. Is there any fucking thing that we can do? I'm like, well, I don't know, man, but I'll give it a shot. So I do an evocation with the spirit Raphael, which, I know according to the Bible and Christianity, he's, this archangel for, the Christian religion, but he's actually been around much longer than that. Christianity is a new thing. It's really not very relevant when it comes to this stuff. It's more, the what not to do manual to look at, in my opinion. But anyway, if, Raphael, he's known as the universal or the divine surgeon, which I would have to agree with that term for sure. So I went in my room, I laid out my universal circle, and proceeded to call on Raphael until I felt his presence come into the room. And so once I felt his presence, I just simply asked, I said, hey, my friend's dad, whose name is this is dying of this condition. Is there anything you can do to help? And I hadn't really developed my communication skills at that point to be able to form words in the form of a response. I just got this kind of wave of tingly, good energy that was like a positive reinforcement for what I was asking for.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, I also got some visual instructions, some photoforms came through, and I saw myself performing this spell. It was a honey jar spell, which most people who practice like witchcraft and stuff are familiar with honey jar spells. And so I took the sigil of Raphael, I opened it with my own blood as an offering, and then I wrote the recipient's name across the sigil, folded it up. I think I put some lavender and some honeysuckle flower in there and some frankincense oil, and put it in a mason jar, filled it with honey, and burned a candle on top. Okay, so 2 days later, I called to check on my buddy's dad, and he's doing all right, man. The sepsis is clearing up. We're not sure how, but this is
Ah,
so that was hooked after that, man. I was like, holy shit.
oh
You know, if
shit.
I can do that, then I can do anything. So
Dude, oh my God, man. I can't even imagine. Like, yeah. I mean, that's like a major, yeah. Like the aha moment of your whole existence, like, and what is sepsis actually? Like, I'm not too familiar with that condition.
okay, well, I'm not a doctor or anything either. But from what I understand, sepsis is an infection that gets in your blood. Like if you get a wound in your intestines and you have feces or something seeping out, getting to where it shouldn't be, it can poison you from within, make your blood, toxic, septic, whatever the terminology is.
Okay. I thought it would be something like that, like because it sounded like septic, so it was like okay, so like poison, just leaking out.
Yeah.
It's man, like what are the chances of something like that being able to to turn around in like a 2-day period? That's like when they're telling you that like like there's no hope, like it's just like it is definitely, it's not natural at all. It's supernatural, it's fucking magic like a motherfucker, I mean, like there's just nothing else that you could, like really, I mean, it's just unbelievable, but it's real, I mean, and that's like, that's the thing about, especially about healing work that I like is that, usually the results and manifestation is like almost happening in real time, or it's going to happen like very quickly after. It's not like you wait for days. It's like they can feel it a lot of times while you're doing it. Even if it's from a distance, they can feel right then and there what's taking place, and it's like that's the part that I really love. Is like like you really don't have to wait for some results that like you're anxious about, like maybe it's gonna manifest, maybe it's not, like like no, it's happening, man, and like it's just so satisfying to be able to help somebody like that, and I've never done anything like that, man. Like I would, that would like be the pinnacle moment of all the healing work that I've done ever, and I definitely I want to do something like that. I mean, that is just incredible, I mean, like to save somebody's fucking life, like that's, I mean, there is no greater gift that you could ever give that man or that he will ever fucking receive,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, it's something that you can feel good about. I mean, it's not just about, casting a spell and then, seeing the result manifest. I mean, you can do that with baneful magic too. You may or may not feel good about it depending on the situation, but me personally, it feels good to heal somebody who deserves and wants to be healed. So after that, I was hooked, man. It became an addiction. So I started experimenting on sick people. Okay. People, family members, friends, people that I would hear about, I would do the experiments without their knowledge. Okay. And the reason for that is because I hate the fucking idea of the placebo effect. Okay, now that is a factor when doing stuff like this, but when the subject is completely unaware that anything's taking place, placebo is not a factor at all. You're getting genuine results from that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I started experimenting on people without their knowledge. I would, talk to somebody, they would, have an injury or they would be sick, down with the flu really bad, and I would go come up with a little experiment and try it and then get back to them the next day and see how they were doing, and after like the 30th time of getting the desired result, I had to, there was no more doubt, it's like, no, man, I'm really doing this shit. So me being an extremist was compelled to take it even further and start incorporating things like blood sacrifice and evocation on direct people. Like nothing beats having the subject in the circle when you do something like this.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like you were able to do all this earlier stuff without even really being able to like truly establish a real connection with their energy, really. Like you were totally doing it from a distance without even really like seeing the person or anything or having anything personal of theirs, no fetish links or anything. Like, you know, and you were able to get these results like that. That is really freaking awesome.
Yeah, the one instance where I had success, it was very similar to the one I just told you about. I'd never met the person, didn't know what they looked like. All I had was their name and their birthday. And that was sufficient enough to perform this ritual. Because when you're dealing with evocation, I mean, the spirits, they know what you're talking about. They know before you even call them that you're going to call them. A lot of times the spirit's already there when you're setting up to do the ritual.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's where that gets to be very helpful when you're dealing with things that you don't have all the information on. You know, it's one thing if I can sit here and look at you in the eye and make that connection and then go do it right for you based off that connection. But if I've never seen your face, then, you know, what do you really have to go by? Not much, just their information, what little you have, and the rest of that's up to the spirits you're using. So that's really cool there too.
It is. Oh my gosh, man! Like, I've never, you know, incorporated like true evocation in with my healing work. Well, I say that like I'm not aware that I'm doing that. I may be doing that, but it's like it may just be kind of taking place in an informal manner, maybe. So like when you are doing it, are you meaning like, do you have like a table of some sort and you're going to put that table on top of the circle, something like that? Or they're going to lay down on the floor in the circle, or how is that working?
Well, I've actually been thinking about buying a table, like a chiropractic table or something like that, but that's just for the recipient's comfort level. Normally we're outside somewhere and they're laying on the fucking ground in the circle. I mean, so yeah, I lay out my universal circle. You can get one off becomealivinggod.com. I definitely use that in a lot of my workings. If, you know, if for some reason that's not big enough, you know, it's, you know, if someone's laying in that, their feet sticking out, then I'll make a circle of salt or cornmeal or whatever I can get my hands on. You know, that's not really important. Not as important as you think, in my opinion.
No, me either.
The tools become less and less necessary as you go.
Yes.
And yeah, the first well, first of all, back to what I was saying, you know, I was doing these experiments for random people, and they were getting the results that they were looking for. So I knew I was really doing something here, and I'd never attempted something like that with the recipient in the circle until my wife got injured one day. Okay, so, you know, my wife, she's at work, she leans over to pick something up, and a bone in her lower back slips out of place.
Ooh.
Okay, she couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. She barely made it home. She laid down and couldn't get back up. So I get home from work and she's laying there in just agony, you know, and I'm like, well, you know, let me see it, you know. So I pulled her pants and her shirt back, and it was swollen, disfigured, and discolored. I mean, like, I started crying when I looked at it because I knew what that meant, man. It meant fucking surgery, painkillers, steroid injections, all that shit we had done before. Didn't want to go there again. So it was really pure desperation that drove me to pushing the limits of what you can do with these healing rituals, I guess we'll call it. I don't have a better name for it. And so I said to myself right there, you know, like, if I can't use this to fix my own family in a dire situation like this, then it's not fucking worth it to me, you know. And I'm just, you know, sending out a question, you know, to the universe, to whoever's listening. What can I do to fix this? Okay. And so I get this tingly feeling that goes through the top of my head, and Raphael chimes in, starts speaking to me internally, but not necessarily in words. He's showing me pictures of what I'm supposed to do. And I see my wife laying in the circle. I saw me drawing the sigil over the afflicted area and putting my blood on it, and doing some other things too. It like ran through my head really fast. I'm like, oh. So up until that point, my wife thought I was fucking nuts, okay? She'd kind of ridiculed me a little bit for my magical experiments and whatnot. And
I know
so
that.
I'm like, right now, I know she don't want to go to the hospital. So if she was ever going to let me try something, it'd be now. And I'm like, honey, would you be willing to let me try an experiment before we make a trip to the ER? She's like, oh, I'd try anything,
My wife would be like, are you serious? Like now? Like,
yeah. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. It was definitely meant to happen, looking back, but at the time I was in total despair, desperation. It can be a blocker, and it can also be your most powerful catalyst. If you're desperate to have a girlfriend, something you just really, really want really bad, and you're tapping your foot waiting for the spell to work, it's not going to fucking work most of the time, or it's going to take a while. But if it's life or death serious, that pure, raw desperation is your number one catalyst. That's what drives people to going to these lengths, to discovering these things about themselves and about magic, about what they can accomplish with it. So, desperation's what would drive Moses to part the Red Sea. There's a fucking army behind us. We got to go. But anyway, so I lay the circle out. I lay some candles out. I put a white candle at each of the 4 directions.
In the kitchen floor or something, or where is that?
I made his sigil 3 times. I drew his sigil on a piece of black cloth and put it in the triangle in the center of the circle. And then on the ceiling, I drew another sigil of Raphael and stapled it to the ceiling so that when she was laying there, she would be able to look at it.
Whoa.
That's what that was for a different one when she was laying on her back. For this one, she was laying on her stomach, so it was actually on the floor in front of her, so that she could stare into the sigil while I performed the ritual. Okay, I don't know why. For some reason, it just seemed really important to do that. And now I understand it a little bit more. It kind of opens your perception to that spirit to let them come through you, because when what you're doing here is a type of possession. It's a type of almost forced possession, where you're literally calling a spirit and asking it to reach inside someone and fix a problem. In order to reach inside them, it has to, on some level, possess them. So that's what's taking place, and that's why it's important for them to open their perception to that spirit in the beginning. So I lay her down. I make her as comfortable as possible. I take a red eyeliner pen and draw the sigil of Raphael on the small of her back, right where the swelling was, where it looked the worst. And I proceeded to speak an evocation for Raphael, which was, was no specific evocation. I was free flowing here,
Yeah.
And so
The good shit. That's the good shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So I when his presence came in the room, it's undeniable. You'll definitely feel it. You'll feel like there's static electricity in the air. You'll feel the energy moving. There's no disputing when they're there and when they're not there. At least not for me.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Hell yeah.
Right after he shows up, my daughter comes and knocks on the door. Mommy, Daddy, I cut my finger. I'm like, fuck. So I go open the door, and with a pair of scissors, she'd nicked her pointer finger just enough to get a drop of blood.
Wow.
Normally, like, I would have stopped what I was doing and, seen about my daughter. But in this case, it was like it was just falling into step. I'm like, oh, okay, good. You can help me with Mommy.
Yeah.
So I bring my daughter in the temple. I say, put that drop of blood right there on Raphael's sigil. Okay. So she does that, and I wrap her finger up, and then she goes out of the room, and I proceeded with the evocation. So the next thing I did was prick my finger and trace over the sigil with blood, and then proceeded to ask him, I stated what was wrong with her, what I thought was wrong with her, and I asked him to simply reach inside her and fix it, reach inside her and heal her. And so at that point, the spirit sort of takes over the operation. You may, feel compelled to do different things. In this case, I was being compelled to kneel above her and just set my hands on top of her back, not putting any pressure or anything like that, just barely touching her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it happened. That's it felt like a crushing force bearing down on me to start with. Excuse me. And then I felt like I had electricity moving through my body. And then as I'm sitting there going, holy shit, this feels crazy, pop, like the bone in her back pops so loud I can hear it, and then moves by itself. And I can feel the fucking bone move because I'm touching her. Okay, and it moved about a 1/4 inch underneath the skin. And then it was over. Like the intense, it was over. It was done. And an internal voice, I thought it was internal, but we both heard a voice say, she'll be 10 times better tomorrow. I'm like, okay, well, thank you. Thank you, you know? So she wasn't able to walk when we came into my temple here. After the ritual, she stood up on her own and walked to the bedroom. She was really sore and really tender for about 3 days. She said she felt like she'd had surgery almost. And she's been fine ever since, okay? Another thing crazy that happened during that, years ago, my wife was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, okay? And you know, I'm sure most of you are familiar with that. It's, you know, a lot of people deal with that. It's, you know, pain and nerve pain in the muscles, especially in the legs. That's completely gone too. As of the next day, no more fibromyalgia. So
that was cured with the same ritual there, or did you do work on that separately, or that?
No, that was the same ritual, man.
Wow.
That was another problem that I didn't even mention during the ritual, that it was like he just went ahead and fixed anyway. It was amazing.
While I'm in here, I might as well. That is so cool, man. I mean, it's like, especially like stuff like that is stuff that would linger, you know, and it really gives people a lot more, you know, problem, you know, as far as like, you know, opiate addiction and everything else that can go with conditions like that, you know, and like it sounded like she would have needed major surgery to fix that. And it probably would have required more than one surgery, you know, and it would have kind of been something that would have been, you know, just a major issue in her life for, you know, the next 5 or 6, 10 years, maybe, you know.
It looked really bad. Looking back, I should have photographed it because it was that disfigured. But no, I wasn't thinking about taking any pictures at the time, man. It was a pure state of desperation that came about. And so since then, people have been crossing my path, random people, strangers in fucking Walmart, or, you know, somebody I meet at a party, you know, they'll meet me and then they get this weird look on their face, like their eyes glaze over and they're kind of expressionless. And then they'll start telling me about some awful illness or ailment that they're living with. You know, and sometimes it's really embarrassing shit, you know, like not being able to get it up, or, you know, having problems going to the bathroom, you know, stuff that you wouldn't tell a stranger because it's embarrassing.
Right.
I'll be sitting there just watching them and listening to them talk. You know, I won't say a word. I'll let them finish because this has happened like 8 times since then.
Like, what the hell is this dude doing? Like,
so after they're done talking, I'll just be like, okay, so do you think that it's kind of strange you told me, a complete stranger, about this problem you're dealing with? And they're like scratching their head. They're like, yeah, I don't know why I told you that, dude. I'm like, well, it just so happens that I practice an alternative method of healing. And if you're open to it, I can't promise you anything, but I'd love to try to help you out. And they usually take me up on it. And at that point, it becomes an experiment for me. And they've all been successful. I can honestly say, like, not every ritual I've ever done has been as successful. You're not going to get that. But as far as these evocations with this spirit geared towards healing illness, it's been a success every fucking time. Again, we have not had a negative experience yet.
That's incredible, man. Like,
highly encourage people to try that.
Oh, I mean, what's so cool is, like, you know, that it just, like, how it all came together. Like, you said, did you use a drop of your wife's blood too, or was it just your daughter?
No, it was just mine and my daughter's blood.
Okay. But, like, you know, that, you know, how she just happened to get nicked and come in there, you know, it's like, that is just, it's just,
that's synchronicity right there, man.
Together, it is so incredible, man. Like, that is really.
normally I would, I don't involve my daughter in my rituals. I mean, I teach her about things, but she can decide what her path is when she gets old enough to make that decision.
Right.
This is something that just totally felt right. It was like I wasn't even myself. It was like it wasn't even a surprise. Oh, okay, good. You're here. Come on in and put the blood there.
Yep.
It was supposed to be that way.
It's weird with stuff like that. It's like you don't know how you can do it, but it's just like you feel it, you. It's like it's because I can't even explain stuff like that a lot of times. It's like weird stuff like that. It's like, well, how do you know you can do that? And it's like, I don't know. You just know, just like I can get up and walk across the floor, like I can do this, I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, that's did you ever have a relationship with Raphael before that, or that just like?
No, at least not that I know of. I mean, if all time's present to these entities, then like I've heard EA say in one of his videos, once you evoke a spirit, they will have been with you since the beginning and will be until the end. Now, I've noticed a lot of times during after a first time evocation with a spirit, each of these spirits have a unique energetic signature, okay, that you'll pick up on more and more as you experience this. And I've been able to look back almost every time at different periods in my life, even in my younger days, where I felt that same energy, that same presence. And so that really makes me think that that's true, that once you evoke them, they're with you since the beginning. And so time's not really a factor to them. They can alter the future by altering the past.
Right.
It's
back through the veil like it's like it's nothing, and like that's how I feel about Lucifer. Like I felt like he has always been there, like it's same thing like what you said. It's like you just once you're cognizant of it, it's like that. Like I know this. I really know this feeling, and it's like wow. It's like it was mind blowing, for me.
Yeah.
Because I would have never ever thought that in a million years, earlier on in my life, so it's just wild to think, that I mean, because there's some spirits it's like I really never would even have considered calling on, and then finally at some point you do, and it's just I've had it where it's like one is like a stepping stone for another and for another. And it just kind of like falls into place in an order that it should, and it's like some of them I really didn't even really work with, except for the reasoning to move on to this next one, and it's like they kind of like divert me over to this spirit, and it's like the only reason I even had an experience with them is so that I could feel that energy and be familiar with it and know like, oh wow, yeah, like we're not going to do anything right now, but I know that I'm familiar with it. It's I've had that experience quite a few times, and it's strange to me, like how familiar it is,
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. So we were talking earlier, you've had just very strange things happening in the world. You've had really strange things happening since you were born, like in the house that you lived in. Strange things that you would say are out of the ordinary, supernatural things of that nature.
Yeah, my childhood was pretty terrifying, man. I lived in a house that was very, very haunted or infested. And these entities, they tormented me throughout my childhood. So there was never any question in my mind as to whether or not spirits and ghosts were real, as to whether or not the supernatural was a real thing, which I think is a lot of people's biggest obstacle, is just deciding whether or not any of it's real, when they come into practicing. For me, that wasn't a question. It was something I already knew, okay, from my experiences as a child. So when I came into trying to learn how to work with these energies and practice these different techniques, that wasn't a factor as to whether or not it was real. I knew it was real. Is trying to figure out how to manipulate it, how to get it to work for me and not against me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big factor in my childhood, growing up in that house. And I've done quite a bit of research trying to figure out exactly what I was dealing with as a kid. And as it turns out, my mother inherited some old grimoires from some aunt or some grandmother or something like that. And this is when I was a baby, and she was experimenting with some of the different rituals in these handwritten grimoires. And then, according to her, paranormal phenomenon started happening, like things falling off shelves or moving on their own, hearing someone walk through the house. So she fucking throws them in the dumpster. Okay. She's like, oh my God, this is scary, and throws it away. Well, too late. You already opened the door. It's already here.
Yep.
And yeah, because of that, her children were tormented for years.
Like, were they mainly focusing on you guys, or?
Yeah, it was mainly me. My brother, a little bit as well, but not quite as much as affected by it as I was.
I mean, do you think that it, like, the torment was meant to instill 100% belief, and that's why it kept happening? It's like, you know, we want you to know this is real because of these things, you know, and so, like, this is the way that you're going to know, so that when you go to do this stuff, you're not going to have any kind of doubt. Like we're instilling this belief in you through this fear.
Yeah, that's actually exactly the conclusion that I've come to later in life, looking back. I mean, my plan for 20 years now has been to burn that house down when and if I ever inherit it, you know. Now I'm thinking about it a little bit differently. But yeah, if I hadn't grown up like that, then I probably wouldn't be where I'm at as far as, you know, experience and experimentation. Yeah, so it was very significant in my ascent, I guess you could say.
It's strange, man, because, like, that's the not the exact same at all, but, like, very similar sense of the fear that I had to go through a lot of terror and a lot of fear in order to move me in the right direction to get me on my path. And it's like kind of that there's no relation. The microphone's getting messed up again. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that, like, that would have been an element to it. But you know, the more people I talk to have similar situations like that, and it really kind of seems like that is, you know, the driving force behind their, you know, the beginning of them getting on their path. Is just like, if they were trying to get messages to you before that were too subtle that you weren't getting, this is kind of like the final method that they're going to employ to get you to recognize their signals, to recognize their existence. And
Yeah.
you know, and I know, I'm sure they did a lot of things that were, like, you know, physically scary, that it wasn't your body misinterpreting their energy. It was physical touches and pushes and things that were, you know, that would be uncomfortable if a human did it to you, type of thing. You know,
Absolutely.
like with a lot of these spirits, it's like, just because your body responds to it in an unfavorable way doesn't really mean that it's evil or bad or anything like that. It's just that your body is unfamiliar to it, so it's going to respond to it in some kind of way. You know, like it could be a negative way. It could feel fear, but really it's not something that's bad or negative. But these things were, like, actually literally tormenting you physically and things of that nature.
Yeah. You know, not to the level or extent of some of the things that you hear about. You know, like this thing, whatever it was, in the house that I grew up in, it never hurt me. You know, it never actually did anything to harm me. It was just consistently letting me know of its presence, you know, that it was there. and scaring the shit out of me in the process. Okay, they're not concerned even a little bit with your personal comfort, man. It's tough love when it comes to forcing us to ascend.
Like, what was happening to you primarily? Was it stuff that's like, when you least expect it, they're going to give you like a little nudge or a tap, or was it like, being pulled out of the bed, or like, what did you experience the most?
Well, I was never pulled out of the bed. There were several instances almost on a daily basis at some points in time where I would feel it touch me, bump into it. It would feel like someone took their hand and poked me in the chest, or just grazed my neck a little bit.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I'd be laying in bed almost asleep, and we had old wooden stairs in my house, and each one creaked extremely loud. There was 19 stairs, 20 getting to the top. I would sit there and count, man, at night. Oh. You could hear someone walking up each and every step. So I'd yank the door open with my samurai sword or my hunting rifle, whatever I happened to be holding to defend myself, expecting there to be a person in my house. There was no one there. So, I was sitting on the couch watching TV one time, like totally zoned out. And the whole house is shaking. That's how hard this thing stomps across the room. Bam, 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 and then slammed into the side of the couch. Just scared the shit out of me. That was it, So I didn't know what to make of it back then. I'd try to talk to my mother or whoever I could talk to about it, and they would teach me to be afraid of it and that it was my fault, because if it was fucking with me, then I must have invited it somehow. So yeah, that's how I was raised to think. I had to totally rewire everything as an adult. But
did your brothers or sisters or siblings experience the same level of interaction as you, or you were really the main one that like experienced things, like to the point to where they're like, is this stuff really happening, or are you just crazy, like that kind of thing?
No, my brother was with me a lot of the times when this would happen. We would hear the same things. We would both hear the spirit walking up the stairs. We would, hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I'd have a friend over for a sleepover or something, and they'd just be scared to death too, They'd be hearing the same shit or feeling the same thing grazed by them, So it wasn't just me. I knew it wasn't crazy. If I'd have been the only one experiencing it, then yeah, I would have thought I was completely insane. But luckily, other people saw and heard things too. So
it's just odd, because like a lot of times they will do that, like in my case, I was really the only one that would experience these things, and like that they were, at least I'm the only one that was cognizant of it. And so it really kind of seemed like in my case too, it was like that it was pulling power from the back and forth and the argument that would ensue, because I'm trying to convince people like, this is happening. They're like, no, it's not, and it's, it always kind of seems like it would get to that point, and like that would build some energy. And like, I guess in my case, that particular entity wanted to create that, so that I was the only one. And so sorry, there are weird things happening in here.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything until after we got off the live show, but I could have sworn I just saw something whip by your head there, man. It was like the video you showed me.
I do it all the time, dude. Like when I was doing it last night, I kept like, I was like, stop fucking with me right now. Like, let me get through this first, man. And it's always like these light little, and I mean, sometimes you get those hard pokes, and did you ever have one of those that felt like a cigar, like it was like a hot poke?
No, I don't think I experienced that sensation. No.
Okay, because I ended up getting one of those, and it was, we went out we were partying with some friends and stuff, and we went in the woods like 2 or 3 in the morning, like just to like get to kind of get scared, just to go out there for the hell of it. And you know, this was earlier on in me being able to know like what gifts I had and things, but like I could just feel like a female presence, you know, and it was like, you know, like a spiritual, you know, some type of entity, you know, feminine energy, like it just, that was what was coming to me. And I got anxiety, like hit me, and I told everybody, I was like, look, we need to get out of here. Like, seriously, we need to turn around and we need to get back. As soon as we did that, man, like right in my lower back, I got this really hard, like, you know, like used like a jab, but it burned too. And I was like, what the fuck, man? You know, like it hurt like hell. And so everybody took off, of course, because I just, you know, something just got me. And we get up to the porch and they get a flashlight. And like I usually always wear like 2 shirts. They pull both shirts up and I've got this, you know, big mark on my lower middle back. And they're like, yeah, man, like what the hell? I was like, how is that possible? It went through 2 shirts. The shirts are fine. And the crazy thing was the next day, you know, it was a pentagram, you know, and like, it was just this thing, man. I was like, I didn't know what to think about that, you know, like
That's pretty intense, dude.
It was, man. Like this one girl was like, oh, you're fucked now. Like that's, you know, you're marked for whatever. You're going to totally be dead in a year. And I was like, fuck, you know, like I didn't, you know, it was really worrying the hell out of me.
So it was in the shape of a star, in the shape of a pentagram.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that, you know, was originally a symbol of protection. So yeah, I wouldn't think that would be a negative thing necessarily.
Well, for me, I guess like I didn't know anything about anything at that point. You know, like all I knew was kind of like you know, my like a Judeo-Christian explanation or, you know, definition for it, like, oh God, it's a 5-pointed star, it's fucking evil, you know. Yeah. Holy crap. And then you know, that wasn't the only time I got marked. I mean, like one night I was asleep and I don't even remember having this happen, man, but like I don't know if you can see it on here, maybe probably not, but no, but I'll show it to you. Like basically it's a bite mark. And it was a burn. It was a burn though. It was like water blistered up. And I mean, it looks like somebody bit me in the arm, and it took 9 months for it to heal. And it would start to heal, and then it would re-blister like it was already, like it just like had gotten reaffected, like it wasn't the very first day. And you know, it scared me a little bit, man. I was like, what in the fuck is that? Like, how does that happen? I don't even know about it. And like, you know, what does it mean? You know, and it's just weird, you know, when you get these type of markings and things, you know, you really don't know what to make of it. I actually had just 2 weeks ago on my my torso here, the word purge was like, looked like a jailhouse tattoo or something. And it was, you know, like the craziest thing. I mean, I'm like, you know, I don't really like just the, you know, what is the communication here? Like, what are they really trying to get across to me? You know, that they can't communicate to me in another way. Like, why do they have to mark my body in order to get whatever point across? And I'm still not even sure like what that point is, you know. It's, some things come to you so clearly and easily, and other things just like they're clouded in mystery and confusion, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty trippy. So you could actually make out the spelling of a word on your skin.
Mm-hmm. I put it on Instagram, yeah. Oh yeah. You can see it. Wow. Like, man, it's freaking nuts.
Well, I've not experienced anything like that. I have heard of things like that. We'd probably have to talk a little bit deeper and more personal to get to the bottom of that one.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
It's crazy, you know.
It's very interesting.
But
That's unusual.
I don't feel scared anymore though, you know. I mean, before all this stuff, dude, I was fucking scared of the goddamn. I wouldn't walk through a dark room, you know. And now, like, you know, I'm not gonna say I don't have any fear, but you know, I don't fear. I mean, I know like stuff happens down here all the time, you know, but like if I'm, you know, out of the whole big entire house, if I'm going to sleep somewhere, I want to sleep down here. I don't know why, you know, it's like, I feel the most comfortable down here, even though I know, and I have evidence of crazy stuff happens, you know, and so, yeah, it's, I don't know. It's why it's, you know, all of it is so hard to wrap your head around sometimes of, what the real reasons are behind a lot of these things that happen to you like that. And, you know, but it's good though. You know, I know what that terror was like, and, you know, I know what it used to feel like to fear it, but it's like, I don't fear it anymore. You know, like I really don't have, you know, I mean, I feel weird energies and stuff. Like Sunday night and Monday night of this week had a very ominous, spooky, you know, weird energy feeling to it, but it wasn't something that I was terrified of. But you know, and it's just it all, I mean, it definitely makes you stronger, you know, but it's I guess that really never ends, you know. There's always going to be things that they're going to do to continue to reinforce that, you know, so that you don't ever revert back to having that fear.
Yeah.
So that you can continue to work with them, I guess, you know. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the having fear versus not having the fear anymore. I would call him a client, but I didn't charge him. It was a member of a family. He, you know, this is a 60-year-old man who has been terrified of the dark for, I mean, his entire life, to the point where, you know, he literally won't go outside at night by himself and whatnot. And anytime that, you know, like if he, you know, he rode his four-wheeler around the community he lived in, if he would end up at someone's house after dark, you know, he'd have a flashlight as he's riding his four-wheeler home, just like literally terrified to be in an empty house at night. Always been scared of the dark.
Do you even know why?
Didn't have a clue why. I didn't have a clue why. And that wasn't even why I was working with him, honestly. I went over there to clear his house. And what I did was an exorcism over the entire house and property. And, you know, which included him. He was present for that, so I exercised him as well. And since then, he's had no fear of the dark. And he's brought it up to me multiple times. Like, he called me like a week later when he realized it. He's like, dude, you know, since you did that, not only is the original problem that I called you for fixed, but I've always been afraid of the dark, and for some reason now I could walk around outside at night with no flashlight or anything, and I feel totally comfortable, totally fine. So it's almost like it was a negative spiritual force attached to him that was causing this fear. And I don't know exactly how to classify these spirits, and I try not to classify spirits because we classify them based on our opinion and perception of them, which has nothing to do with what they actually are.
Absolutely.
So I kind of try to look at them all the same, but it does seem that there is a type of spirit that is parasitic that will attach to people and feed off of them. And often it'll instill and create negative emotions like fear or depression, anxiety, stuff like that, so that it can feed from that person's emotions. And it'll also seem to affect people in their lives to cause them to treat them in a manner that will incite depression and anxiety or sadness, self-loathing. And a lot of times, dude, a simple exorcism is all it takes to get rid of that.
And that to be so profound, so many people's lives, is I think there's like so many people that live in, you know, oppression like that. And so, you know, like everybody outside of, you know, of our occult practices are always going to be like, that's a demon, you know, and like, that's what I thought I was dealing with when I had all this shit happening. You know, I was like, oh my God, it's fucking demons, you know. And it's like, so all these methods that I was employing to try to, like, you know, fend it off, like none of it was working. And you know, and it's like now, since I have come to the understanding of what they really are, it, like, when I hear people talk about this or that, or I see, you know, like the only thing I ever really watch on TV now and then will be like a paranormal thing, and they're always like, it's a fucking demon, you know. And it's like pisses me off almost, you know, because it's like, it's not, you know, like, I don't think that freaking King Paimon's in there trying to freaking like waste his time scaring grandma, you know, like that's just not, you know, it ain't happening.
They generally have better things to do.
Yeah, right. It is. There's these other weird, nasty little whatever, you know, and if they are, you know, if they're like thought form created from emotions from, you know, the people that live there, and then it turns into some kind of parasite, or if it's independent entity that comes from, you know, those things that happened on the land in the past or whatever. I mean, what do you think that these things are actually?
Well, I think it's really hard to pinpoint what they are or put a label on them. You know, as far as thought forms, egregores, or spirits that have been here longer than humans, I mean, there's so much shit out there. We're just scratching the surface, man. We really, as a species, have no clue, and that's what I'm always trying to figure out. You know, is what is reality? What are these things that we interact with? These spirit energies. You know, energy has a consciousness. You know, no matter what it is, everything's made of energy and everything has a consciousness. There's an energy that's causing the physical manifestation of that object or person or creature, whatever that may be. So I imagine that we're dealing with a lot of different things that we don't fully understand. And me personally, I don't give a fuck what they are. If they're not helping me, then I just want to know how to deal with them.
Damn right.
And, I prefer to make an ally than an enemy any day, you know, but there's certain spirit energies that it just seems you can't make allies out of. And in that case, it's best to combat them head on. You know, we have dominion over this physical plane, and we tend to forget that and allow things like that to scare the shit out of us and make us weak.
Yeah.
If we just, you know, it's realizing that you are God. You are a physical manifestation of God. And what I consider being God is all of creation. It's the state of being. It's the energy that holds atoms in place, creating solid matter, the glue that sticks everything together, including us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like it's you know, concepts like that. It's like it's so hard to wrap your head around, but yet it, you know, does make so much sense though too. You know, I mean, and it's like it's so hard to break that programming, you know, that we've all had jammed down our freaking throats and in our minds, you know, to like that clouds your judgment and kind of like prevents you from being able to really understand these things because it's been so ingrained and it's so hard to like to pull that stuff out of you, you know. You know, I'm almost convinced that like all anxiety is a spiritually related thing, a particular type or something. And the only reason I say that is because I've had so many instances of out of nowhere, I've never had anxiety, and then like I will have this intense, insane anxiety, you know, and it's like and then I'll feel like some kind of spirit touching interaction and stuff, and I'm like, you know, that's what that is, man. It's like if people, whoever's having anxiety, it's like it's not just that you're wigging out for whatever reason. I really feel like it's an outside force that is causing you to feel that way, you know. Like I mean, at least in my case, I could always identify with that, like that it was every single time. It was like whatever those nasty parasitic things are, I think like that they are the things that give people panic attacks and anxiety. And you know, like, I mean, I had a freaking one time so bad I had to freaking, you know, go to the hospital with a fucking ambulance, and I thought I was going to die straight up, you know, like it was all closing in. My face went numb. I couldn't talk. And, you know, it was horrifying, you know, and feel a spirit's presence there too, you know. So whatever it was trying to do, where like if it's when it's doing that, if it's trying to possess you or jump you in a way, you know, and that's its way of like trying to break you down, you know, and it keeps trying and it's not successful, you know. It feels like when I had that panic attack, like it was just about, it latched in there, you know, and that's what it took to totally break me down physically to be able to do what it needed to do, you know. It's even when you have those experiences that many times, you know, kind of how you did, it's just like there's, you know, you have, there's no denying it, you know. People can call me crazy all they want to, you know. If they had it happen to them, then they would know, you know. But then there's so many people, and I know a lot of them, that's like, I know they know this shit is real, but they are so terrified of it that they have convinced themselves that it's not, you know. But I know they know it is, you know. And it's like, you know, I don't even know if I could even like be able to fool myself that much into believing something is not real when I know it is, like, you know, like some of these people can, you know. It's
Yeah.
that's almost,
once you know, man, you can't unknow it.
you know, it's really strange, man, to live in that level of denial that you really believe it, you know. It's just strange. You know, it really all, it's just a mind fuck, man. It really is.
Well, I agree with you 100% on what you just said about anxiety. Okay. You said that you never had anxiety before. Okay. I was just the opposite. I had anxiety my entire life, to the point where I didn't understand what anxiety was, because that was my normal state of being.
Oh my God, man.
Okay. So, oh yeah, it was terrible. I lived like that throughout my childhood and teenage years. Came really close to offing myself a few times. So anyway, I had anxiety all the time about anything and everything and nothing, dude. Anything that I had to do, I'd feel that it would kick in right here. This feeling, this twisting in your chest, anxiety and panic and all of that. And I never understood what it was. I just figured everybody was like that because I'd never known anything different. It wasn't until my first real spiritual experience. Well, I can't even say that. Like it was a possession. I underwent a full-on possession with Belial. Okay.
Like or deliberate. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I had to agree to this, and it was amazing. But yeah, it lasted for 6 months, and I could sit here. I'm going to end up writing a book about this.
Yes. Yes.
I could talk about it all night. But the thing that I noticed instantly upon receiving that spirit was there was no anxiety. There's no anxiety and no depression. For the first time in my life, I was actually happy just to be alive. Okay. I didn't feel any of those negative emotions. And it wasn't until then that I even understood what anxiety was. So until I was actually free of it. So that's one thing that Belial did for me, was cure me of lifelong anxiety and depression.
Kick that damn thing right out of there, man.
Yeah. Now the only time that I get anxiety is when I'm getting off track or procrastinating in my path working. Okay. If you know, I don't claim to be able to evoke spirits to full physical materialization and talk to them like I'm talking to you now. It's not like that for me, and I know it is for some people, and I don't doubt them at all, but I'm not there yet. Okay. For me, they communicate internally through physical gestures, dreams, or I'll feel this tingly energy come in through my crown chakra, and a phrase or a word or a picture will just sear itself into my brain. And I recognize that it's coming from somewhere else. Okay. So once in a while, I'll get something like that, and it'll channel like a ritual or something for me to do. Something that I know I need to do. I don't really know why at that time usually, but I know that it's necessary. Well, I like to procrastinate, man. I don't like to admit that, but I'm a procrastinator.
Dude, oh my God.
Busy person, a very busy magician, but I procrastinate when it comes to my own shit. So after a while, I'll start getting, it'll start creeping in, that feeling of anxiety. And if I let it go for days and days, it'll build into a full-blown panic attack. And to the point where I'm freaking out, don't know what the fuck is going on. And it's like something will slap me in the face. Like, do the ritual, man. You know?
Exactly what I'm about. It's like this.
Yeah, I'll go.
It's like, you know, you want to, you know, you need to go do it, and it's like, you're like, you get stuck in quicksand or something.
Yeah. Well, we've got programming. You were talking about programming earlier.
Yeah.
You know, religious programming, television programming. I mean, it's way too easy to come home from working all day, take a shower, eat some food, spend some time with the lady and kids, and just sit in front of the boob tube all night and not do anything. It's way too easy to do that.
Yep.
And I really think that we have built-in barriers in our brain that are there to prevent us from ascending spiritually. That's why a lot of times when you have a spiritual experience, you get a fucking migraine or a headache, or it'll be something painful in your brain. That's that door opening. That's that barrier getting crumbled, getting knocked down.
Yeah, it's like
pain is a good thing.
Right now, pineal gland or whatever being like decalcified and all of it chunking away so that it's open finally, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation in itself there. I mean, that's it's a little bit harder to do. You can do that through ritual, but it's not going to do you much good if you don't stop eating and drinking the things that calcify the pineal gland. So it's like you can improve it for little bits of time, but it's really hard to cut all that stuff out of our diet, because that is our diet. It's in everything.
Yeah.
Fluoride is in the fucking water. It's really hard to live like a Buddhist monk in the US.
Right.
It's not feasible.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, you know, I mean, I try to consciously cut out as much of it as I can, you know, but I mean, it's, you know, it's like, it's in everything. And like, from what I understand, it's like that type of fluoride, you know, it's really just like a poison, really, you know, it's like a byproduct of like aluminum manufacturing or some shit like that. And so, you know, like it's like a needless ingredient in all kinds of crap. So, you know, there is a reason for that. And it's, you know, it's kind of ties in with organized religion and everything else. It's like a control mechanism, you know, to kind of prevent you from realizing your latent abilities that are within you and all of that. You know, it's like if they can, you know, keep that padlock on there, then you're just like, yeah, dude, I don't watch TV, you know. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like it's, you know, for me, it's like just kind of like exactly like what you said. It's like I'll receive you know, the sensations, I'll feel it, I'll see it, you know. It's not really like talking conversation, you know, it's telepathic type of communication. And then I'll know I'll need to go do something, and I want to go do it. And it's like, as soon as I go to go do it, it's like I'll get like just extremely tired, and
you get hit with the fog of confusion almost.
Yeah, and almost disinterest. Like I'm not even interested in doing it anymore or something. It's like, and you're like having this internal battle. Like, you know, you need to go do it, but it's like you're getting overridden by whatever the fuck that is. You know, it's complacency.
It's ritual resistance. Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. I think that is like the number one reason that people fail at Magick is ritual resistance. And it comes in a lot of different forms, man. Shit goes wrong. Vehicles break down. Emergency phone calls happen right before you do the ritual. I mean, you have internal resistance when there's nothing external preventing you from doing that. And then you get that feeling like what you were just talking about, that confusion and disinterest, like something pushing against you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the consensual reality matrix pushing back at you. It's like you're triggering some type of fence system whenever you're going to do something to alter this reality, because reality doesn't want to be altered.
Yeah.
That's something that you're doing. And
no.
There's definitely forces that work against us. I don't really know exactly what to call it. I refer to it as the forces of order and oppression, but I don't know exactly what it is.
It happens to me a lot, and I get into it a lot, you know, and I get into it a lot in such a subtle way that I don't even realize I do it, you know, until looking back later, once I'm out of the fog, and I'm like, you know, what the hell's the matter with me, man? Like, and it's like sometimes I'll hit that point of realization, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna go do it. And like I'll go to do it, and then it'll hit again, you know, and then I'm back in the fucking fog of, you know, it's like never gonna let me do it, you know, like it's like whatever that working is so important, and maybe it's gonna be so significant that the matrix is like, fuck you, dude. Like you were never gonna do it, you know, like I'm gonna do everything I can to prevent you from doing it, you know, over and over again, and until you have totally forgotten, or you know, I'm going to introduce like a pizza or something that's going to totally like make you forget about it. And like, you know, oh yeah, pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed the more important a ritual is, the more resistance you're going to have, man. Mm-hmm. At least for me, I can only speak from my own experience, and that's how it is.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're right, man. I mean, and then, you know, like we were talking about, you know, certain people in my life that I want to heal. And it just can never ever happen, you know, no matter what, you know, it's like, it just cannot, you know, I mean, we can be 10 feet away from each other in the same freaking room 20 nights in a row, and it is just not going to happen, you know, like it's just weird, you know, it just is really weird, you know, and it's like, I mean, I could even have this ironclad will, like, I'm going to do this tonight, damn it, you know, and just, you know, it'll just like, it has a way, man. It has a way of just taking you away from it, you know, long enough to where it doesn't happen, and that other person goes and does whatever they're going to do. And then it's like, you know, shit, okay, well, I guess we'll try again tomorrow. And the same thing happens, you know, it is wild, man. You know, it's wild. It's, you know, so many of these types of things that I guess it really, to me, rarely get talked about in Magick, really, you know. And I guess maybe a lot of people just don't want to talk about it, or they don't understand it. But I have a lot of that kind of stuff, man, you know, happen to, you know, to where it's on my mind. It's at the forefront of my mind, you know, a lot, because it's just like it you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a ton of things I do, and you know, and I actually, like we were talking about before too, I don't necessarily have to do rituals for a lot of the things that I can bring into my life. I don't really need to do it, but obviously, and it kind of really hits me now in talking to you that like I could be doing so much more profound shit, and it's keeping me from doing it, you know, like it's letting me do some little shit, you know, like cool, you know, and it's keeping me satisfied with that, you know, and it's like, but hey, if you could get out of that foggy fucking, you know, block, you could be going and doing profound, you know? And I think that's like really what I need to remember to try to like push through that, because I really feel like I had a revelation like you're right here on that, really, because it happens so damn much, you know, that there's a damn reason for it, you know, like it'd be fucking cool without having to do anything, but there's a force that's keeping me from doing these like rituals, like, yes, like you said, they're significant, you know, and so I am really missing out, you know, and I didn't even realize it, man. You know, it was making me be satisfied with these little, you know, like little bullshit $1 and $5 bills or something, when I could have like bars of gold over here, you know, and then like it's keeping me preoccupied with bullshit, you know. So that's, man, like that is like, it like really makes sense to me now, dude. Like it really does, that force and what it's trying to do, you know, like it's way much more manipulative and everything than, and almost has a conscious awareness, you know.
Yeah, it does.
Man.
Yeah, once I realized, because I'd wondered for a long time, I was dealing with exactly what you're talking about. Once I realized that it was an external force working against me to prevent me from accomplishing my goals, then I started getting pissed off at it. Like, I'm gearing up to do a ritual and things start going wrong. I know what it is, and that pisses me the fuck off. And I let my anger motivate me even more to push through that and overcome that, to do that ritual. Because I know the more it's pushing against me for me not to do it, the more important it is for me to do it.
I mean, you talk to it? Are you like, fuck you, motherfucker, I'm, you know? I mean, are you just like internally, like, you're just like, you know?
I'll admit it, sometimes, yeah.
I did it the other day.
At it in midair to nothing, but no, like if I'm setting up to do a ritual and I'm getting a lot of resistance, I'll exorcise my entire house. I'll do an exorcism. I'll cleanse my entire house and my ritual chamber to drive that force out so that I can do what I need to do.
I'm doing one tonight, damn it.
Energies that I want.
I'm going to do one tonight. When you do that, let me ask you, do you have a method of like, you're going to start on the bottom floor and you're going to work your way up to the attic? And do you feel like you're chasing this energy around the whole house? Like, and you're pushing it from here to here to here to here, or what? How do you?
Okay. Well, yeah. Quick lesson here. Yeah, I don't have my bowl, but I have a black glass bowl. Okay. It actually has a blue ring around the edge of it. It's really cool. But the whole thing's solid black. I got it at a yard sale or thrift store or something. But I'll take a black candle and I'll melt some wax in the bottom of the bowl and seat the candle in there. I'll pour in some water and add some salt. And what that does, you know, black candle pulls energy, salt absorbs energy, water is a spiritual gateway. So you're creating a suctionized vacuum gateway that pulls energy. Okay, so I'll put that in the center of my house.
At the bottom of the bowl, so there's candles sticking up through the water, basically?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's about halfway sticking out of the water in the bowl. Cool. And I'll light the candle. I'll burn some white sage. I've got some spiritually charged water that I use, and I speak an exorcism. It's a special exorcism that banishes any and all energy whatsoever. It's actually an evoking eternity.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
He's the one that I learned that from. And I believe he taught me the trick with the bowl and the candle and the water too. So anyway, that pulls energy through it. And if you'll do that when you exercise a house, then it'll pull that energy, that negative energy. So I'll start on the outside of the house, go all the way around and work my way in towards that bowl, burning the sage, sprinkling the water, and speaking the exorcism.
Ah, okay. So you're not carrying that bowl around with you. You put that bowl in the center of the house and you leave it there.
Yes.
Kind of like open like a portal vacuum, basically.
Yes.
I got you. I got you now. Okay. And so then you'll have your separate bowl of your spiritual water, you know, consecrated water, what have you. And that's going around kind of sprinkling around, and you have the sage as well, and you're reciting that exorcism.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that energy like retreating from you typically?
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. You'd be surprised like how much brighter the lights will look in the house after you do something like that. It totally changes the atmosphere. It banishes any and all energy whatsoever, to the point where you have to physically call back in your spirit guides because it'll drive them off as well. Like, so immediately after doing that, you know, I'll blow the candle out, pour out the water, closing the gateway. And then I'll just simply, you know, say, I now call upon my spirit guides, those spirits who watch over, protect me, guide and direct me, to come now, descend upon my home and surround me with love and protection and give me the strength to do what I need to do here.
Mm-hmm.
You'll feel that energy when you say that. Come in.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. Now, if you don't, if you're wanting to cleanse your house and you don't want to go through all the trouble of setting up the bowl of water with the candle, you can just open the doors and windows and exercise the house and then close everything afterwards. you'll get the same effect, but it's not quite as effective as using that gateway.
That's what I did when I did it. I opened all the windows, and I was like, I was getting crazy, man. I was like, oh my God, my neighbors are probably like, what the fuck is going on, dude? But like, yeah, I mean, have you ever had it like, because I kind of like the night that I did this thing, it was like I had a final showdown with it in the attic, like that it literally like was going to put up like one final stand or something. Like, have you ever had that to where it's like it's really intense at the very end, wherever you're going to end up at, to kind of like be like, all right, motherfucker, like I'm going to try to go toe to toe with you if I can, or does it usually just
once?
Go on? Okay.
That has happened one time. It's one of the only times that I visually saw a manifestation of a spirit. Okay. I don't see auras all the time. I don't see spirits all the time. It was the same place, ironically. It was in an attic. It was a friend of mine. I was clearing his house. He was experiencing some poltergeist activity, feelings of anxiety, fight or flight, not sleeping, sleep attacks, sleep paralysis. So I go to his house and I did exactly what I just described. And, so I go through the entire house, speaking the exorcism, blowing the smoke and sprinkling the water. I get up to the attic, and I actually have a flashlight with me at this point because the lights up there didn't work. So I'm shining the light around as I'm blowing this smoke and speaking the exorcism. And all it looked like was, it was about this big, and it was just like a little black shadow that was floating around the room in the attic. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm thinking it's a bug or something flying around. I'm shining the flashlight on it, and there's nothing there, man. And so, yeah, I could literally see this little black concentrated energy form flying around in this attic. And so at this point, I'm chasing it with the smoke and speaking the exorcism and hurling gobs of water at it until I didn't see it anymore. And there hasn't been a problem at that house ever since. So, yeah, that was the one case where something manifested to where I could see it during a house clearing.
And it wasn't some big bad fucking, what like.
No, it was like Tinkerbell, but solid black.
Then something came to my mind, even so, like just in talking about this, so your friend was having these problems, a lot of the same problems that, me and a lot of people that, kind of get on their path, like, was that thing there to help him get on his path? And was he just not willing? And he was like, I'm sure he didn't consider that too, but it's like, there's probably a lot of people that, if that was there for that reason to happen, that, like they just can't put up with it, or either, I guess maybe if they were meant to, that somebody like you wouldn't be able to allow to be able to come into their life to get rid of it, because I was never able to, it just, nobody ever kind of came into where, that could have gotten rid of what needed to put me on my path. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I do know what you're getting at, and it's important to be able to distinguish exactly what is happening to a person when they're having these experiences to determine whether or not it's something that is for their own good, that is necessary, or if it's something bad. The way I determine that, well, there's a couple of different ways. For one, if it's hurting you physically, then it's not good, man. The night terrors where you wake up and you're paralyzed, and then a lot of people see something in the room or see a figure sitting on top of them, and then the next day they'll feel weak and drained and end up being sick afterwards. That's not a good thing. I don't fucking care, what you're looking at. If that's happening, that's not good.
That's right.
And so, yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. If there's a question where, they're saying, okay, some weird things are happening, it's freaking me out, can you just, do whatever you do to help me? Sometimes I'll go to their house and I'll do a blind evocation where I'll lay out the circle and, I'll burn some incense and whatnot, so put out some things that will attract a spirit if it's in that home, and try to commune with it and just ask it, just talk to it like you would a person. Even if you don't hear it physically speaking back to you in words, you'll pick up on the energy field of the spirit, and you'll pick up on what it's transmitting to you. You know, if you start getting feelings of fear and panic, sometimes I'll get phantom pains, like sharp pains. I was doing this one time, and it felt like something stabbed me in the ear. And I literally heard something go in my ear, and it was very painful.
I've had that happen too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably not that uncommon. So in that instance, it was something negative. So if I'm doing a blind evocation, you know, first of all, you got to be prepared to deal with whatever the fuck shows up, especially if you don't know going in. But if it's a positive encounter, then a lot of times you'll be able to establish clear communication during that time. If it's there for the person's benefit and it has a purpose in their magical ascent, then it's not going to want you to do anything to hinder that.
Right.
So it doesn't seem to respond violently when you go to do something like that. Right. So, I mean, there has been one instance where it was like, okay, yeah, you do have a spirit energy present, but it's not negative. It's just trying to get your attention. And so upon questioning the person a little further, it's like, oh, well, yeah, you know, when I was a teenager, I did this ritual with some friends, and I don't even remember what we did exactly, but we cut ourselves and bled on the sigil in the cemetery and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And I'm guessing you never did anything else after that. So, yeah. So here's what you need to do, you know, is finish that path working, finish that ritual. You know, you never leave something like that unfinished. And if you're smart, you're not going to do that without knowing what you're doing in the first place. You know, you at least need to have like a clear set goal in mind when you go into ritual. A lot of people go in just to see if they can get a response, and then they get one, and then they don't know what to do. So a lot of times they'll take off running. I've had people take off running from rituals. You know, it scares them that bad when they feel something or hear something or see something. So it's each case is different, man. That's why it never gets old. It's always interesting. I never know what the fuck is going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. You know, I mean, and gosh, man, you know, you've had so many different experiences, and it's like really cool that, you know, you've been able to kind of, you know, like really identify and incorporate certain methods for, you know, whatever it is that you, I mean, I know like we haven't even scratched the surface, but like, you know, it's like, I think I was talking with you before, it's like, it's innately within you, you know, like it all just makes sense to you, man. Like, you know, it's just kind of, you know, like, you know, magic flowing through your veins, you know, like, and that's fucking cool as shit, you know. It really is, man. You know, like, yeah, I really think like a lot of people will really never ever really come to that kind of understanding or realization, you know, not to that extent, you know, to where it's you know, it's like it's just such a part of them, you know, like the way that I feel like it is with you, man. Like it's really unique and unbelievable, man. It's really something.
Oh, that's cool, man. Thank you. That's quite a nice compliment there. Yeah, like you said, I'm just scratching the surface, man. I mean, we're all here. Nobody really knows why we're here, what we're doing here, what the meaning of life is. We all have our opinions, but we're all trying to figure this shit out, man. And the rabbit hole goes as deep as you're willing to follow the rabbit, man. Like, I don't think we ever master anything. I don't think we ever learn it all, you know. I look back at myself a year ago, I'm like, what a dumbass. And I know damn well that a year from now, I'm going to look back at me right now and be like, what a dumbass. Like, you did not get that, you know, at that point. So, I mean, it's, we never figured it out.
Because that's, you know, that's, you know, showing that there's growth, you know. I mean, so I guess that's a great thing to be able to look back and be like, damn, I'm a fucking idiot. You know? Like, you know, it's like, I better be able to fucking look back and call myself a dumbass this time next year. Goddamn it.
That means you learned something between then and now, you know?
Hell yeah. Like, I won't be pissed if I can't, you know, like, you know, shit. Have to do that whole year over, man. But, you know, I mean, it's, you know, I know for both of us, I mean, it's like, you know, such a passion, and, you know, a lot of people in my life just don't understand that, and they can't understand it. And there's nothing I can do to even get them to even understand it like this much, you know? And,
chances are you won't, man. Like, some people just have no drive to learn any more about this stuff even after they experience it. Like, I've done you know, like healing rituals for people, you know, where they were suffering from something really terrible, and then instantly they are healed. Like, I mean, there's no, oh, wait and see if it manifests a few months from now or anything. Like, no, they lay in the circle and they're fucking sick. They get up and they're better. Okay. And then they're like, holy shit, you know, like the bag's ripped off their head, and they're like, there is something to all of this. They react in different ways. A lot of them will try to rationalize it and deny that they had an experience, even though they can't explain how their ailment is no longer there. And two is to, well, I mean, there's a lot of different ways people handle it, but the way I see it is, you know, once you know that there is something to all of this esoteric stuff, and that you can alter this reality through non-physical means, then how in the fuck do you not spend like all your spare time trying to figure out more about it? You know, I can't. It's an addiction for me. I couldn't walk away from it if I wanted to at this point.
No, absolutely. It's like once you know a certain amount of it, it's like, you know, you can't undo it and you can't go back. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, and it's like, I was like, the analogy you made about like the bag beaver about their head. You know, I can see a lot of them being like, "You in a goddamn bag."
Yeah. Well, that's how it is. Like, quick story. A guy I knew, he was a friend. I went to his barbecues and stuff. I told him a little bit about what I did, and he's like, "Oh, that's bullshit. You know, you're one of those fucking fan fiction people." I'm like, "No, not exactly." So he kept telling me I was full of shit. Like, all right, man, I'll tell you what. You know, that's cool, but if you ever find yourself in a predicament or you don't know what the fuck to do, drive down the road and see me. I'll see if I can help you out. Well, 2 months later, he shows up at my house at like 10 o'clock at night. And that's totally abnormal. So I go outside and I'm talking to him, and he's talking about, you know, I don't even remember. It was something that had nothing to do with why he was at my house. And so I'm standing there looking at him, and I'm like, he looks like he's in pain, man. And so he stops mid-sentence and starts holding his face. He's like, oh my God. He pulled his cheek back. He had 2 broke molars, like totally battered them, and they were abscessed. It was a Saturday night, and he couldn't make it to the dentist till like the next morning or something. He didn't want to go to the ER. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know, it's all swollen too. And I was like, well, it still doesn't explain why you're here, you know. And I just stale-faced him. You know, he's like, man, is there anything you can do? I'm like, you mean like give you a Motrin or something? He's like, no, you know what I mean, man. And I'm like, oh, some of that crazy witch bullshit.
Yeah.
And, I don't think I can fix your broken teeth, but I might be able to do something for the pain until you can get to the dentist. So I brought him in the temple here, I laid out the circle, I did the evocation, and afterwards, I look at him like, so did you get any relief? He's like, oh yeah. He's like poking it and shit. And he's like, dude, it's numb. My whole face is numb. So like it deadened the nerves. He had like no pain at all. It was like we'd shot him up with lidocaine or something. And he's been terrified of me ever since. Like, he went home that night. I didn't hear from him. I call him. I'm like, hey, man, how's your teeth? He's like, oh, yeah, I went and got them fixed the next day. You know, man, I appreciate that. And then hangs up the phone. Then he quits inviting me to barbecues and stuff. It's like, he's
a freak, you know?
I mean, like, you would think that would make him want to come over and practice with me and learn about this stuff. But no, he's scared to death of me and everything that I do, even though it helped him out. So I can't make sense out of people like that, and I don't fucking try, man. If you
I can relate.
help you out, I won't turn you away, but yeah, I'll save my sympathy for people who want to be helped. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I you know, and it's just, I guess it goes to show too, it's just like, it's almost just like there's, I mean, to me, that's like witnessing a miracle. And if they're going to be able to witness a miracle and still be like, you know, it's just like, you know, there's nothing anybody can do, man. They are so freaking.
It does not compute, man. They're so programmed, as you said, that they just will not. They can't grasp it, even if it's slapping them in their face. So, not everybody can be helped. That's for sure.
You know, I mean, and
this isn't for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, I mean, it's, if I hadn't went through all the shit I went through, you know, I mean, I would probably still be, you know, like dumb and happy, you know, up there fucking watching TV all the time. Like just, I just like it. It's just such a waste to me of my precious time and life, and, you know, of just a bunch of doing nothing, man, you know, and you can be a creator, you know, a true creator, and, you know, like not just be a victim of circumstance, you know, you can actually like control this and this and this. Like, you know, it's like, well, can, you know, like lazy in TV, victim of circumstance, or, you know, work a little hard and have some fun and cool shit and create shit, you know, it's like, you know, our lazy human fucking TV, and, you know, whatever the fuck might happen, I'll, you know, that's just life, you know.
Yeah. It's too easy. I mean, we sleep like a very large portion of our lives, like almost half our lives away. And, you know, the average American watches like 5-6 hours of TV a day. You know, you work 8 hours a day. I think the average American father spends about 3 minutes a day with his kid. So yeah, we really waste ourselves, man. You know, everybody I work with and stuff, it's all about fantasy football and
dude,
sports and stuff like that. I have no interest in any of that, man. I don't even watch TV anymore.
I don't either, dude. I watch
Game of Thrones. I like Game of Thrones.
I do like it too. Yeah, I do watch that. Like, and like I watch a ghost show every now and then.
Yeah.
I used to watch Walking Dead, and I used to be obsessed with that. I cannot even watch that shit anymore, man. I cannot.
I'm same here, dude. I watched like the first 3 seasons, and now I can't even stand to watch the gory stuff on TV anymore, man. I mean,
yeah, like I can't watch that show because I feel like not the zombies, but just the human condition of what we will turn into. Like with what me and you were talking about. I think me and you were talking about it, weren't we? Like the breakdown of. Or maybe it was, I don't know.
That might have been somebody else.
How fragile our whole system of life is, and how it can just crumble in like, you know, nothing. And in 3 days, it's, you know, that show seems like it's just so real to life of like how it would be. I mean, I can feel it, you know, and it's like not with the zombies, but just with how fucked the world would be. And, you know, I kind of feel like it's a not if but when situation. It's like, that is just too real, and I feel it. I feel it like that, you know, I hope I don't have to fucking go through that shit, but I feel like I may, you know, and it's just like,
it can easily happen, you know, and I hope it never does in my lifetime or my kids' lifetimes, but, you know, if it does, I want to make sure I'm as strong as possible when that day comes. So, I mean, that's a motivator for me too.
Me too, man. Me too. I mean, you know, we just take so much for granted that it's going to be there. You know, this is going to be there. This is going to be there. And, you know, like when other people count on you and everything else, you know, you have to, you know, I mean, I'm not like a major prepper or anything. I mean, but I do have water and I do have food at my house and shit like that, you know, and shit like that happen. I don't want to be out there trying to kill people for a crumb. I want to be in here having whatever, take care of my family and stuff. But, I'm not going to like the fear rule me, but, you know, I definitely want to be prepared. But, you know, it's just like, it's stuff like that show that like, I just don't understand it anymore. You know, like I don't understand why you would want to watch that and feel that way. You know, like I used to, and I used to love it and be like, fuck yeah. And like now it's just like, it just does something to me, man. I just can't
even stomach it anymore, man.
go there, man. Yeah, I just can't go there, man. But you know, I you know, appreciate you coming on with me, man. I really do. Like,
yeah, it's been a blast, dude. We've been chatting for like 2.5 hours. I'm enjoying it.
I could
definitely do this again.
Oh no, fuck yeah, definitely, man. I mean, we could probably go on for fucking 5 hours, man. Like, and not even real. I mean, seriously, like,
easily.
I have enjoyed talking to you more than you know, dude. Like, seriously, I knew I was going to. You know, I really did. I knew since the first time we talked. You know, on social media, I was like, I knew that I was going to, but like, you know, is, you know, so much better, man. You're a freaking awesome guy, dude. I'm glad I got to meet you, and you know, thank you for coming on, man. And like, I feel like a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this podcast, you know, and you know, yeah,
that's awesome. I hope so. And, yeah, the feeling's mutual, brother. I've really enjoyed this. This is a treat for me. I don't get to talk to like-minded people very often. I live in the Bible Belt. I kind of have to keep my mouth shut most of the time. So yeah, it's good to get on here and talk to somebody that's into the same stuff for sure. And you know, I hope people get something out of it. But even if nobody watches this, man, I've had a great time, and I'd love to do it again.
I think that a lot of people will watch it, and I think it's going to get really, really good feedback. And I think it will both be pleasantly surprised, you know, like, because I think we touched on a lot of things that I really haven't heard anybody else really talk about, man. And I think that's the kind of stuff that a lot of people are really looking for, because there's a lot of the same shit out there, you know, and you know, I think we touched on some things tonight that people will relate to, things they've been through. And, you know, when it gets personal like that, I think that they can make that connection. And like you said, a lot of more people that wouldn't be inclined to this will be more open to it, you know, to take a look at it.
Well, that's awesome, man. I hope so.
Hell yeah.
I really hope so.
Well, I appreciate it, JS, like so much, man. And we will definitely do this again, like very soon, very soon.
Sounds great, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, man. You too, brother. All right.